Hey, guys, this is the best U Nation. My name is Adler. This is Finn.
What's up?
This week's episode, we're going to hop right into it because we do have a little bit of busy schedules on our end, but we didn't want to deprive you guys of any more content. Last week, Finn had a little bit of a strep throat issue, so we were unable to fulfill our duties. And, sometimes, when you're not physically up to it, it's hard to do it, especially when you're losing your voice. So this week,
man, I was like talking like this, man.
exactly. This week we're at full 100% health.
Full capacity, man. These Pistons are going.
Yeah, so Finn's able to speak. He's able to, feel a little bit better. I feel great. So we're in store for a good episode. But first and foremost, before we start, let's start off with some housekeeping stuff. We are available on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Always support your boys because we're here to give you a weekly dose of positivity because that's what we do and that's what we're passionate about here at the Best U Nation. On top of that, we also have Instagram, the Best U Nation, and also I have my own personal Instagram 24 hours in a day and a TikTok that is connected with my Instagram as well, and that's Team 24 Hours. So just like, share, subscribe, share the message. This is what we do here. We want to be a weekly dose of positivity, a weekly dose of inspiration, and we're striving overall to be the best versions of ourselves. So we meet you where you're at versus trying to create these obscene standards. We just want everybody to work on being the best version of yourselves.
Exactly.
Did I miss anything?
No, Adler. There's no other way to really explain what we're doing here, man. You said it just how it is, and it's perfect. We just like I was telling you right before we started off air, there was a PR. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, public relations. Some kind of group out there wrote a really, really awesome bio or description about what our podcast is all about. And that's really what we live for. We just live to help people and meet you guys where you're at. And I love that you said that, Adler, because it's true. We don't want to recreate. We don't want to redesign. We're just trying to find a way to be that extra positive push in your day. And I'm super grateful that we have the platform. You mentioned YouTube. YouTube is definitely, I've seen, we had talked about this a couple of weeks ago and, being more proactive. I got to create a little bit more content. I have been trying to use the content that I do here. I think I'm going to have to do the sacrifice and just create content off air because I get nervous recording here and doing the phone at the same time. So I gave it a try. But I will create more content like in a setting with plants behind me and looking aesthetic and whatnot. But which will be coming out here in the next week or so. So besides that, I'm excited. We're in season 17. I don't know how you feel about that before we get going. It's kind of crazy to think that
that's what we are. We're old men at this point.
17 seasons, man. I feel like we're like Grey's Anatomy.
And we're 4 years in, almost
4.5.
5.
I guess almost 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Pretty wild experience, man.
It's been a pretty good ride. And we obviously appreciate everybody who takes the time to listen to us and to support us. And the thing about the podcast is it's kind of forced, at least I'm speaking on my end, it's forced me to have a lot of tough conversations with myself, things that I didn't necessarily want to deal or handle. I had to learn how to confront it because to me, you can't have a whole podcast on trying to become the best version of yourself if you're not actually trying to do that in your own personal life. And I think that by having this platform has made me a better communicator. It's made me overall better at I think being firm in my stance without having to sound harsh. I've noticed that it's translated even to my work as a nurse, where I can have a patient who's being belligerent, who's being manipulative, who's being intimidating, for lack of a better term. And I now know how to de-escalate that situation a little bit better just because of having like this platform. So at the bare minimum, it's made my conversation skills like excel. I've noticed that for me personally. And it's made me a little bit more sympathetic at like other people around me, because it's like the things that come easy to me are not necessarily the things that come easy to everybody else. And so it's made me kind of like, and obviously you can speak on it yourself, but it's made me kind of like just appreciate the journey that I've overall like been on. And it's made me realize that I can be better, and also changed my viewpoints, which this is why we're going to kind of go through a concept for this upcoming season. Outside of this episode, we're going to kind of go through our top like podcast, and then we're going to just reevaluate and see if our stance still stays the same. How do we feel about it? And go from there. But today we have a really... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, just to tag to that point, what I'm going to find interesting about that, though, is that when we did those episodes, the episodes that we're going to revisit and talk about, it's kind of nice because it will be interesting to hear 22-year-old version of me, 21-year-old version of me, talking about something that now at almost 26, it's just going to be a different perspective. I think we started this podcast. You were just shot a little bit past 26.
Wait, we started in 2020, so I was 29.
We started 2020.
Yeah, January 8th.
We recorded an episode in 2019, but yeah, it's January 8th. 2020.
Okay, I mean, okay, so technically I was 28 when I did a guest appearance on your the original one.
Prime Life.
So
yeah,
I was like 28-ish.
So
I was 28 going on 29. Yeah,
this is going to be unique because we're going to revisit things that we talked about when we were a little younger. So, just to also piggyback, I do agree with you. This podcast has given... I just want to give my take on it because I feel like this podcast has given me the opportunity to be more aware of less pressure on me to be the best right now or in the next year. It's a continuous growth pattern that you develop. You learn things as you go. You go through ups, you go through downs. It all sounds cliche, but that's the beauty of life, that you can fall and get back up tomorrow. You can fall and get up next week. You just have to understand that everybody's at a different pace of life, a different pace of this run. And I feel like you had mentioned that the communication skills and your overall confidence as a person and the things that you think about, the way you feel about things, those are things that I feel like with this platform we've had with the podcast, it's given me the opportunity to be the same way, even within my relationship, with my work, and just overall with who I am as a person. My goal setting, my priorities, not really just giving up because it's easier to give up. This podcast has given me opportunity to see things differently and in a lens that allows me to improve and not be so hard on myself, because I'm very hard on myself because I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist, but I definitely like to get things right. And sometimes in life you're not going to get things right on the first time. Things aren't going to, you can't plant a seed today and expect the plant to be growing tomorrow. Like, it's going to start popping out of the dirt. It needs time. It needs patience and resilience to be able to pop through the topsoil. And so I feel like that's what this podcast has given me as a person, individual, as a man, an opportunity to do, is that you plant a seed and now, you push through the topsoil, you start growing into a whatever plant or tree you want to be. And so I just wanted to give that point too, man. I do agree with you on that. I really do feel like we have, as men, have had the opportunity to share our thoughts, share how we feel, insight, whether people believe it, whether people want to take it. I'm just grateful that we have gotten to this season 17, over 200 episodes of pure growth, pure opportunity, and we've grown along the way. Like, that's the thing. We're not ever like we're not telling people how to do life. We're just sharing it in live moments where we can go, hey, this past week I did this, or I went through this experience, and here we are today. Now we're going to, talk about it, whatever the case is. So
the really cool thing, and just to not to belabor the point, but
steal the mic. Steal the mic.
No. Well, I don't want to belabor the point because we already said what we had to say. But the really cool thing is you get to see the growth in how we run the podcast. Also, it's a lot smoother, in my opinion, and it's a little bit more easier conversation than how we first started. Because when we first started, we don't know what we're doing, and we had to turn off the camera, then turn it back on, then restart, and then do it all over again. But now we kind of got into a rhythm of flow. And even when there's mistakes or even when there's issues, we kind of know how to like power through it because we've done it for so long. It's muscle memory at this point. So that's definitely like you get to hear our growth in the show, but also the personal growth, which I think would be very interesting to see. Like overall, like after 4 years of doing this, do we still have or maintain the same points? And if we do, is there new experiences that we can use to elaborate on those points? So that's going to be super fun, and I can't wait to dive a little bit more into that as we go through the summer months. But let's get started with this week's topic, and I kind of wanted to go into more of like a self-love type of mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, like if you've ever seen somebody in one of those relationships, right, that like they're with somebody and they're not happy and they're miserable and they get treated terribly, right? And that's the one thing that like it just keeps on like emanating from that relationship. A lot of times my heart goes out for people like that, because a lot of times the first instinct as a person from the outside looking in, you're just like, why would you tolerate that? Why would you allow somebody to treat you in that regard? Why would you allow somebody to say those things or to do those things to you? And the first thing is, I mean, we've discussed it before as far as like gaslighting, but there is, especially in a relationship sense, right? There is a level of like gaslighting that happens in those types of toxic situations, right? Where you don't believe that you're worth happiness, you're not worth love, you're not worth all these different things that should be like bare minimums in order to get into a relationship. So it's one of those things where we take for granted our own power, so to speak. You kind of like, I think especially when you're looking at yourself, you're the most important investment you'll have ever in life. And you can't sell that at a discount with other people. So the best thing I can think of is there's an example of this guy. He's in a subway. I don't remember his name. Like it escapes me right now, but he's in a subway in New York, and he takes his violin and he just starts playing, and he's playing like his heart out, and he's very passionate about it. He has his case, like his instrument case, it's open, and people are just dropping like $1, 25 cents here, and he's just playing his heart out. If you rewind about 48 hours prior to that, that same gentleman had performed at Madison Square Garden and sold out the whole entire garden. He was a famous, I guess, violinist. And the lesson in that is that you, depending on which room you're in, people will pay you what you're worth. So in one room, Madison Square Garden, these people are paying $200 a ticket, $300 a ticket to see this person. And they're valuing it, and they see the value, and he's in the right environment in order to get compensated accordingly. Now, when he's in the subway and the everyday person looks at him, but they don't value him, they just see him as like, oh, okay, he's just some hobo that's like sitting on the corner just playing music. Go get a real job. That's like the thought process for a lot of people. And then they put a quarter, they put $1. And the lesson is to step foot, or not step foot, but you have to go to where you're celebrated and not just tolerated. I think that's like the biggest thing. Like, you can't just discount yourself with every single person. So if you have somebody that's treating you poorly, you can't just allow that person to continue to treat you poorly, because what that says about you, that says that you don't hold yourself in high enough regard. Because if you did, then you wouldn't allow that person to do it. And I definitely sympathize in terms of, like, there's a lot of brainwashing and manipulation that also comes into play, that factors into it as well. But the one thing that you can never lose sight of is who you are to you and what value you bring to life. And that's kind of the main point I wanted to kind of get in order to start this thing off. I wanted to see what were your thoughts, or like what you were thinking about it.
Yeah, man. I like the example, the analogy that you use, the violinist, where you're 1 minute you're you're at Madison Square Garden, and then another minute you're on the subway. I feel like oftentimes we, as people, by default, we're created to feel we seek out the Madison Square Garden mindset naturally. Like, we want to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be like the limelight of everything, but more so we like to be attention seeking. That's what we are. We're created that way. We want to be loved. We want to be embraced. We want to be praised. We want to be acknowledged. That's part of being a human. That's part of how we operate. And so that's why relationships happen. To begin with, we seek somebody to exclusively embody who we are, to embrace us for our quirks, embrace us for our moments where we're just being human. And when you're talking about how people 1 minute being in a room and everybody's like, yeah, and then another minute you're in a room and everyone's kind of like talking behind your back or looking at you kind of sideways, don't give you that same value, or they don't acknowledge you the same way, and it makes you feel sometimes you question yourself, because we're our best. You've said this before, we've talked about this, you're your best cheerleader, your best critic. And the influence we have around the celebration or the tolerizing, or when we're celebrated or tolerated, right?
Yeah.
We tend to have those pieces influence how we view ourselves. So, for example, I've been in a situation where, I, being in a room where people praise me because I'm really good at communicating. I'm really good at going into a room with a patient, and I talk to patients. I really like make that connection, and you'll get that praise. And I'm not on here to call anybody out. That's not at all. But I get this a lot. This is probably one, and I don't even really want to focus on my job, but this is just a good example because it's in my face. I can literally think of it as it comes to mind. And we always talk about, taking care of people. And one of the things that I realize with patients is one of the things I've really realized over the last maybe 8 to 10 months is just when you can reassure somebody and you spend 15 minutes at most, sometimes I go longer sometimes with patients, but you spend at least 10 minutes or so just talking to a patient, they feel immediately, and not just because you're talking to them just to talk, but it's like talking to them because they need that reassurance. They start to feel like they're not a patient anymore. I actually go in the rooms and I make it very known that I'm not above you just because I'm wearing scrubs. I always say I'm wearing scrubs because I like to wear comfortable clothes to work. I like wearing my PJs to work, and they laugh, they giggle, and it's just this mindset of not taking the human aspect of way of being a patient. It's very easy to have the superior inferior approach in those situations,
almost like a God complex.
Yes, but that's not, we don't ask for that. That just comes with being in healthcare, because the dependency on us to give an answer, to give a diagnosis from a doctor's perspective, or us just taking care of somebody at a level that, let's be honest, these people are strangers to us and we're strangers to them, but you can love these people and take care of them because we're human, not because you're a patient, but because you're human. And so while I'm getting praise for, and I don't really need people's praise, but it is frustrating when you're getting celebrated for, wow, you really made this person's day. This person really like appreciates, how you just communicated with them, how you're just like always so like, or the team really thinks that it's amazing that you go in and you are so engaging with patients and, you've been getting recognition for that. And then on the flip side of all of that, it's you talk too much, you're time wasting, you're holding up the flow of the emergency room. I get that a lot. Not a lot as much now, but it used to be a thing that was more prominent because it's like you're 1 minute I'm being told that it's a great thing, and it makes you think, oh, well, I'm going to continue doing that because it's a genuine thing that I'm doing. I'm not just doing it to improve patient experience. Patient experience happens naturally when you allow organic conversation, organic care being presented to somebody who needs it genuinely, not just because we're going to focus on it, right? And I'm not here to vent about it. I'm just giving you a valid experience that I've had as a person who loves to socialize, loves to talk to people, but it's like what is used to improve people's lives. In some people, they don't celebrate that. They tolerate it because they're like, oh, it's Steven. Obviously, I work Steven. It's Finn. He's talking. Here he is. He's just talking. But not realizing how impactful those 10, 15 minutes are with a patient, whether it's praying with them, talking to them, ministering to them, just comforting them, reassuring them. All of that requires a few extra minutes of talking and being available to people. And so that's kind of like, just to throw that example out there, that was really that's one that I have experienced more in the recent times. And it really makes you go, am I doing something wrong? It makes you reevaluate, like, thanks for letting me know. Like, you start thinking, thanks for letting me know how you really feel. Do you really care that I'm a communicator, that I'm going to be a fantastic nurse someday, that I'm a great EMT now? And it just makes you think about these things because, again, at the end of the day, we unfortunately are sometimes weak and we allow people's thoughts and emotions about us, whether they're celebrating or tolerating us. We take that, we filter that, and we sometimes allow it to dictate or to navigate how we are going to respond and how we feel about ourselves, because we're our best cheerleaders and best critic.
Well, and so like, I'm glad that you kind of shared that. Like, there's something that I've told you before many times, and you can confirm it or deny it. That you have to you have to limit the access that a lot of people have to you. The people that you work with, they're people that you work with that are not your friends. And the quote that always comes to mind, it's a Mike Tyson quote. Everyone that you fight isn't your enemy, and everyone who helps you isn't your friend. And it takes a second to kind of let that sink in, because at face value, you're thinking, oh, okay, my friend is helping me out. But there are people that come into your life who help you out only for their own benefit. And walking into rooms where, like, it feels like, oh, okay, well, we're only tolerating you because of this situation or this circumstance. And work is one of those situations where, when I was younger, especially, like, in my head, it doesn't make any sense for anybody not to like me. I'm a very likable guy, easygoing, easy person to talk to. But unfortunately, over time, I had to learn that being easy to talk to is also somebody who's easy to hate, because sometimes it comes across as arrogance. Sometimes it comes across as you're overly confident. And I never thought that would be a bad thing, but the truth is, it is something that other people get uncomfortable. There's people that I have met that my presence makes them feel uncomfortable. I have dated girls in the past that I've told them my plans, my goals, this is my aspirations, and flat out told me, hey, you're too intense, and I'd rather not have to be that intense like from day one, which is okay. I'm not your cup of tea. But that's the one thing that I've kind of, it's been a struggle to learn, but it's one of those things that I'm trying to learn how to accept over time, that even though I walk into rooms and people smile, it's not necessarily the most organic thing. And sometimes I walk in a room and I might feel anxious and feel like, oh, there's no love here for me at all. That might be my most beneficial room, because it's not even to say it in a sense where like I don't need to be coddled. I don't need for people to like hold my hand and try to like, make my like validate my feelings. I need people that are going to be real with me, that are going to love me, that are going to support me, but then also tell me the hard stuff when I need to be told those hard things. So that way I can overall become a better person. I need that level of accountability. And like the way I view friendship, which other people don't agree with me, but this is just the way I view friendship. Friendship is a circle, right? You have, as you start to get to the people that you trust, there's an inner circle that you trust these people with valid like information. You can give them the information that could destroy you, and you can give it to them. And as you continue working your way out the circle, there's other circles that are outside of it, and you have like the people that just face value, say hi, bye, and then that's it. We're friends, but you don't give any other information to. And that's something over the course of my life I've had to learn how to do, because if I treat every single person the exact same, and not every single person has the same level of loyalty or values me in that same regard, then I'm subjected to getting an emotional, like I'm subjected to get like an emotional attack, or an attack like, and I say emotional attack just because of when you're in a situation where you're in a room where you're just tolerated, your anxiety is just at an all-time high. Your anxiety just starts to like creep in, and being in an anxious state of mind is never a good thing, because that anxious state of mind will start feeding your psyche lies, and you'll start eating them up and start believing those things that you're saying from an anxious place, but they don't hold any truth or hold any value. And like I've actually had like people in my life where I was just like, hey, we were just having a candid conversation. It's like, what can I improve on? And like the one thing I said is, the biggest disappointment I've ever seen in my life is that you forgot who you are, meaning that you now allow other people to define who you are, and nobody can define who you are. You get to set the rules. You get to set the limits. You get to set the table on who you really truly are. And you can't allow other people who don't think like you, who don't believe in you, who don't know the type of work that you're putting in, to define who you are as a person. And so that's the one thing that like I'm doing my best to just keep that in the forefront of my brain, to remember that I am loved, I am valued. And the people that love me and that value, when I walk in the room, they smile huge. They say, man, we've missed you. It's been a while. And
yes,
in those moments, I can't necessarily control the moments where I walk into rooms where people don't want to see me, don't care for me, don't love me. I can't control that. But what I can control is, when I'm in that room, I'm not going to stay there for long. I will go in, walk in, read the room, say, oh, okay, I see what type of energy it is, and I'll pull back. I don't have to stay in there long. And that's the one thing I think that like people get conflicted with, is you're thinking to yourself, all right, what you're hearing right now, it sounds good in theory, but how do you keep yourself from walking into those type of rooms? Once you realize that this is not the type of room for you, you immediately just remove yourself. It's easy as that. You don't have to stay anywhere that you don't feel loved or tolerated. And my life is a doorway. You can come and go as you please. The door is always open. But what you will not do and I've said this before in the past, what you will not do is stand in the middle of the doorway, because now you're blocking the access of other people coming and going. So you'll either come in, come out, and if you're unable to make a decision and you're stuck in the doorway, then I'll make the decision for you, and you're out.
I love it, man. Straight to the point and firm. I just, us talking about this, right? I feel like with celebration versus tolerating somebody.
Yeah.
This is what comes to my mind, right? And I've witnessed this for somebody that I grew up with, and I know this person. I don't hang out with this person anymore. I don't spend time with this person anymore. We share the same mentor. But one thing that I know about this guy is that his parents love him. And he's made a lot of bad choices in his life, choices that I would say are punishable to the law, and he's made decisions where he has costed someone's life. And I know I'm openly talking about this on the show, but
yeah,
I'm going to mention his name. My point is, though, he's had many chances over and over and over again. And while he's made a lot of bad choices and he's caused some harm or danger to people in the past, he can still, and the point that I'm making is that his parents celebrate him as a person because he's not a bad person. Okay. I think one of the things my dad used to tell me is that just because you make bad choices doesn't mean you're a bad person. Good
Agreed.
people make bad choices. Good people have bad days. And so while it may seem to the eyes of others, I'm not saying what he did was right or the things that he's done is correct, but he's still, you're getting judged or punished based off your actions, not because of the person you are. If you're a good person and you break the law, you're going to pay. If you get pulled over for a ticket, you're going to pay the ticket. That's just what happens. I've gotten tickets and I'm a good person. But this individual, his parents, no matter what, he'd always come home. Like, we would hang out with the family, and he would come home, and he would leave his parents' house for months on end, and then he would come back. But one thing that I always noticed, no matter what, no matter how bad the circumstance was for him, no matter what decision he made, he always had people celebrating him. He would walk in his house, and his parents always embraced him and celebrated him. And those moments like that, I know some people may not have parents that are celebrating them. My thing is that even though someone who's made poor decisions in his life, he doesn't walk into a bad room where he doesn't feel celebrated. He's celebrated by the people that love him. His parents, regardless, it's the parent mindset. Parents, that's one thing about being a parent. I'm not a parent yet, but as I've gotten older, I realize that parents, they celebrate their kids. My dad always told me too. He said, "Son, you're always gonna be loved. You'll be a bum, I'll still love you. You want to live underneath a bridge, I'm still gonna love you. I'll come visit you." Now, obviously, that's not the case, but that was just a point that he was trying to make, because one day I said, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to be a bum. I told my dad that. I said, I'm going to be a bum. I'm not going to do anything in my life. He said, okay, I'll still love you. He's still going to cheer me on. He says that you'll be the best damn bum I'll ever see. You'll still be my son no matter what. And so, the point that I'm trying to get at is that there are people I've witnessed in my life, and myself included too, that we have people cheering us on. And people that are also, I don't think my parents or your parents or my buddy that I used to hang out with a long time ago, his parents just tolerate. There's a love that comes with being a parent, and it's their kid. Yeah, he may have made some bad choices, but we all have. So what I see is this, and what I kind of want to leave here as we kind of wrap things up is, no matter where you are in your life, no matter what it is that you're going through, no matter the circumstance, the situation, the hardship, or the good, people are going to celebrate you, and then there are going to be people who are not. There are going to be people who don't want to see you succeed. There are people who are not going to want to see you make it in life because they haven't figured it out. They keep walking in through the door to the room where people are just tolerating them. They haven't learned or haven't figured out yet that there's another room next door that people are waiting to celebrate you. It's kind of like a surprise party. They're not aware of the surprise because they haven't gone in and gotten surprised yet. When you've gone into a room where you've been like, surprise, you feel like the star of the show. You feel like the most important person. That's why we celebrate our birthdays. Because
there's a sense of belonging.
A sense of belonging, correct.
Yes.
And it's like celebrating your birthday is so important because that day is your day, is the day that you came on this earth. And so when people say, oh, as you get older, you kind of forget, you should never forget your birthday. You shouldn't not celebrate, because when you celebrate, there is this effect that you have. It's very, very contagious. When you start celebrating, whether it's your birthday, paying off a credit card, buying a new house, getting married, your circle is getting thicker and stronger. That circle that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
It gets harder and harder for you to break that circle. And so when you establish a circle that is strong, trusting, bonded, celebration will overpower any tolerating that will ever happen in your life. People tolerate me, but I don't let it get to me. People think I talk a lot. Good for them. Sorry that you have to use customer service manual to be able to communicate with people. Sorry, I'm just going to call it as it is. If you listen to the show and you feel it's too much for you, I apologize. But you brought this upon yourself. If you feel like, oh, now you're talking about it, well, it's because, yes, let me be me. I'm going to be me. No matter what, I'm going to talk. I'm going to communicate with patients because at the end of the day, this is job-wise, I'm going to be a talker outside of the workspace too. I'm going to be quirky. I'm goofy. I'm who I am. And people celebrate me for me because I am a unique person. We celebrate Adler. I celebrate you because you have had such a positive influence on me in my life. You've got a couple extra miles. You got a couple miles ahead of me on this run. But it's also along this run, just like when we did those runs in Georgia, you look back to see where I'm at, make sure that I'm staying on pace. When you have people in your life that are celebrating you, all they're trying to do is try to keep you on pace. Yeah. Hey, come on, let's do this. And when you have that circle that's continuously growing and staying strong, and I'm not talking about growing as in more people. Sometimes you only need 5 people celebrating you. It's better. Yeah. It's like that saying, it's better to have like 5 friends and 1,000 miles deep than having 1,000 friends and only being 5 feet deep. It's the same concept. I'm okay with 5 people celebrating me because the value of 5 people celebrating me versus 1,000 people just kind of tolerating me is way more powerful, way more effective, and is going to have a greater influence on me. And the faster that we figure that out, I think the faster that we realize that life is so short and we have so many other things that we have to worry about. And I don't know, man. Like, it's just, my parents celebrated me when people didn't believe that I was going to make it to where I am today. I'm getting married in 4 months today, from this recording date. We're 4 months away. You are going to be there with your fiance, and I'm excited to celebrate you when your time comes, because that's what we do. Well, that circle is thickening.
There's something that you did that I value and I appreciate. For your wedding, it's a small, intimate gathering with people that you love, and that room is going to be a room full of people that are going to be celebrating you, and that's important because it's not like you're not inviting some people that you haven't talked to in a year or anything like that. These are people that you have genuine conversations with routinely all throughout your weeks and your months and your days. And that's something it has to be expounded upon, because over the course of a lifetime, since you're a friendly guy and I'm a friendly guy, you're going to gain a whole bunch of people who are friendly towards you, but they don't have that same level of access to the rest of your life. So like,
right.
I've had it, and I'm sure that you can relate, where people are like, oh, hey, Finn, I can't wait to get invited to your wedding. Honestly, you're not going to get an invite because I only want the people that I trust the most in this room.
Yeah, these are the most important people. The most important people.
Most important people.
And I'm saying this live on the show. Yeah. For anybody who's out there wondering if you're getting an invite, the most important people, it's like Willy Wonka on the golden tickets. The most important people, the closest people to me, that's honorary. It's an honorary invite. Those are the people that I, like you said, and I didn't even think of it like that. I don't know why this entire time I didn't even think like the seclusion of a small wedding. These are the most important people.
Oh yeah.
Of my and Cassandra's life. These are the people that you guys are the people that support and celebrate no matter what day of the week it is.
If you really think about it, you voted, like you created a tight-knit box of vote of people that are going to be there to celebrate you and love you on that day. And that's something that's got to be super valuable, because like, and I can speak from my own personal experience. Like, I used to think my friends were the most important thing. Not to say that I don't believe my friends are the most important thing, because I definitely believe that there are people that are not your blood that love you in a way that even people that you're related to can't love you in that regard. And the only thing that I changed was I had to realize that not every single person that is friendly to me is my friend. And it was a hard pill to swallow. I went to an all-white school, right? And in that time when I was in that all-white school, I would get invited to all these different parties and social gatherings. And I thought that I was getting invited because, I'm a likable guy, easy to go in. But the truth is, I was invited because I was a token black kid. Token black kid then usually is a good time and creates a good environment for a party. But when I needed something in return, or I needed help, or I needed like support, or I needed just like the most genuine human connection or interaction, it was empty. There was an empty response because there wasn't any true love for me and who I am as a person. It was just, all right, hey, we have an environment where we want to party. Bring him. He's fun in that environment. Otherwise, we have no interest in his own personal life. It was a hard pill for me to swallow. It was difficult because my dad used to say all the time that not every single person that's friendly to you is your friend. And you have to keep people at a safe distance and before you start to allow them to enter your circle of trust. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand it until it actually happened. And witnessing it happen, it was a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking experience because I didn't expect that. I heard it many times, but I didn't expect it until I actually went through it. And that's the one thing that I prioritize now more than anything is I love my friends. I love my family. And I will only give my time to my friends and my family. Everybody else, I'm not giving you my time. I won't spend time with certain people, like certain people I work with. I won't ever entertain spending time with them outside of work because I don't genuinely like them in work to begin with. So it's just been one of those things where it's been a growing time for me just to kind of learn how to navigate myself now that I'm 33 going on 34 this year. I'm older, and I realize that I don't need a huge amount of people who love and support me. I just need that core people that love, that support me, that show me that regard, that can speak truth to me. And I know this sounds super corny, but this is a Tom Holland quote, the guy who plays Spider-Man. He said, "If you have a problem with me and you have my phone number, just call me and text me. But if you have a problem with me and you don't have my phone number, then I don't care. I don't want to hear it." And I understand that because the people that actually have that access to you have the intimate way of reaching out and speaking to you and saying, hey, you need to fix X, Y, and Z. But if you want to criticize me and you don't have my phone number, then respectfully kick rocks. Like I know that we come from a place where, you know, the Best You Nation, we try to have positivity and stuff like that. But I can honestly say that if you don't have my phone number and if you don't like, you have a whole bunch of criticism about me, then it's okay. Have your criticism. I'm not here to change your mind, and I don't care to change your mind. The only thing that I meant, I was placed on this earth to help. That's why I became a nurse, and that's why I do this. So I focus on helping people and helping others. I don't need any gratification for it. I don't need anybody to pay me for it. But I know that I came here to help, to be of service. That's my goal. That's my dream. And as long as I'm fulfilling and walking in that purpose, then I don't care what other people who hate on me, who don't like the way I walk, don't like the way I dress, don't like the fact I'm black. I don't care what you don't like, because I'm unapologetically me, and I will not forget who I am as a person. I won't allow anybody to redefine who I am either. But that's all I really have to say for this week's episode. As always, we appreciate you and we love you guys, and we thank you so much for always tuning in with us and just constantly giving us that love and support. And whoever wrote that kind review on the internet, we appreciate you. And we hope
I don't know who did it, but
yeah,
it's out there. And Adler, thank you so much for sharing. I feel like that's one thing I'm gonna celebrate you, man, on is this podcast. Like you mentioned in the beginning, come full circle. I have noticed as your friend, as your podcast side host, like as your brother, I have seen you grow. I have seen you become more open and more comfortable in your skin and being more comfortable in who you are as a man. And that is, there's nothing more amazing to see that in a friend. You know, it's one thing like, oh yeah, you're doing it. Like, no, like actually seeing you go through the motions and like literally watching you go from sometimes being hesitant on sharing something, but you are now at this point, and then just I feel like you've gotten comfortable and you're okay with sharing parts of your life that you used to not to, because you realize that, like you said, there is growth that you make and there's growth that you go through. And I just noticed that, man. It's shaped you as a person. I think that over these last like 5 years of this podcast, the development of it has given us both the opportunity to see life a little differently. We're both in really, really amazing relationships with our spouses. And I think that's a big piece of it too, is that we I don't even know how to describe it. You have the opportunity to help other people, but you and I have both had our self moments where we are now older and we're able to practice what we preach. And that's something that I see in you, man. I've seen you, grow, and it's again, probably a little different than hearing it from a guy who's a couple years younger than you. But like, I think that's so inspiring and so motivating. And I just want to give you praise for that, man. Cause I know it's tough. I know there's other parts to it that has made you a little bit hesitant to share how you feel. And I know there's other reasons why, but you being in this place in your life and being in this season of your journey, it's just amazing. It's just awesome to be able to see you be where you are. And I can't wait to see what you have next when you and Abby start, getting married.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate the uplifting words. That's what we created this for. We created this to help people better themselves, but not only help people, but also to help ourselves become better. So like that's been the goal. I can say that since starting this, I've read more. I've had more conversations with people. I've found different ways of communicating when I'm upset, instead of like, coming from a place of anger, being able to, say my point without being in that emotional state of being. And, especially like learning that a lot more that like not every room that you're celebrated in, like you gotta be very mindful. Like you have to be very mindful with what you share and who you share it with. But I can also say that there's a part of me that is more comfortable sharing, mainly because the people that I care about their opinions on those matters, they give me the love and support and the validation that I need. I don't need it from anybody else, so I can comfortably say it and I can talk about an insecurity because I don't necessarily have to, like, again, if you don't have my phone number, then I don't care about what you think, respectfully. And that's not a priority for me.
Right.
But anyway, I don't want to belabor the point. This is the Best You Nation, and this is this week's episode. We appreciate you guys for tuning in this week and sharing the last like 50 plus minutes with us. We just hope that you guys have wonderful weeks and we can be that weekly dose of positivity. And I'm going to challenge each and every single one of you guys. Find one random act of kindness and do that to somebody that you don't usually interact with, somebody that's not in your day-to-day like process of life, where it's not a friend or not a family member. It's just some random person. Just find that one thing and do it, and you might be able to make somebody's day and change their overall outlook on what they think. Right. But anyway, Finn, do you have anything else to add before we
leave? No, man. Like I said, we're just excited for this season. I feel like we say that every time, but every season is different. And we're going to go in headstrong and break down some of this the episodes from the past and bring them back to the surface and rediscuss it.
Yeah,
and I'm excited, man. And like I said, man, I'm proud of you, and I'm thankful that I get to do this podcast with you on a day-to-day or week-to-week, I should say. And thank you for believing in me. I know this is kind of like one thing I always say, like, I appreciate you for being supportive and believing in me and being there when I needed, support and love I'm starting nursing school in a couple months, and I literally was talking to Cassandra about this the other day. It's like so weird that I remember coming up and visiting you for a week, man, and just talking about, and you were asking, what's your plan? What's next? Next time you come up here, you better have a game plan. And here I am now, seeing you in a couple weeks, and I'm telling you now, but in person, I'll get to tell you, look, man, I'm starting nursing school. So it's,
everything's coming to fruition.
It's coming, yes, and I'm thankful for that, man.
Definitely proud of you for taking action and doing what needs to be done, obviously. And any way, shape, or form I can support, I'm here for you. As always. But we're gonna end this. This is the Best You Nation. We appreciate you. We love you. Again, can't say that enough. Have a good one. Take care.